Fantastic. 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 Fantastic.
Hello.
Fantastic.
Hello. I'm doing a stream again. My call
Fantastic.
here we go. Oh good. Let's start. Here I am. Here I am. Here I am. Headphones in. Well, now I don't have any sound. Microphone working. Just checking in again. Let's see what's happened since. Let's go to the Switch. And now I'll know if my headphones are working. Not much has happened since last time. I don't think I've added anyone. These two had a child. Haven. None of the childs are living on the island. Here's my diggables. Just thought I'd save this. Have all my own characters in a little dance circle. Me and Alex had another child, Addison. Again, not living on here. Joker and Bane are still married. Here they are being cute. There's Joker, there's Bane.
Touch you? You caught my heart some time ago.
Oh, isn't that cute? So usually it's well, the character says I caught you and then the other one gives them a big flip. The big exciting news is I got a top hat in my clothing store today, so I can finally make Zatanna. I can make Penguin. Who else has a top hat? I could make the Shade if I wanted to. I've got only room for 10 more. It'd be nice to add some kind of Starman characters, but 10 more. I was thinking some of the Titans, the old school Kid Flash, put some sidekicks in there. Yeah, I don't know who else. I'm not in a hurry to fill those 10 spots. So let's check in on everyone. some issues.
Hey,
Mr.
Diggable.
President and Fiasco Bombasco are a couple now.
My look is lacking. Can you get me some headwear that matches my current outfit?
Says my top hat. It's not going to him. What kind of headgear would he wear? Like some of these truckers' hats might be good. A helmet. Oh, that counts as headwear? It's a big decision. Not a trilby, not any kind of hat, I don't think. One of these? That's the front runner. Not a hood, not a snorkel. One of these? It's a struggle to make this interesting to watch, but look, I gotta do right by my guys. A jockey cap might be fun. Alright, the next one that backwards cap? Nah. No. He's one of those older guys who's like, no, caps should be forward. Maybe these goggles. He does already have goggles, but yeah, I like that actually. Yeah. And feed you while you're here. This catchy done looks good.
Yum.
Yeah, it's a good look. He does have the trendsetter. I think he's got the trendsetter quirk, so he'll be in and out of those goggles.
Listen up. Fiasco Bombasco confessed his love to me. I hesitated a bit, but in the end, I decided to take the leap and go out with him.
It's the funnest thing about putting your OCs in. See what's he gonna sing about?
I love you. Aw, Fiasco, I love you.
You can just make up characters and then they fall in and out of love. It's great. The other big news is Nightwing and Batgirl got a divorce.
Hi.
I think
Pretty great
he's
day.
still depressed about it.
I want to try living with Bizarro.
No.
You think? Well, I guess I'll give it up for now. When I get mad, I get mad.
I want to say a hello and a thank you to whoever is watching these and I post them on YouTube.
Yum.
When the game came out, it was big numbers, but now it's kind of slowing down. But there, it's in the teens, which for me is pretty good. Leave a comment, etc. You know the drill. I've been getting nice comments. That's kind of, it's better than big numbers. Oh, you love that. Have some tea.
Yum.
Who else we got? John Johns. Hey! Welcome, action figures, super. Tamagotchi's going good. I've got 60 out of the possible 70.
Let's settle this today once and for all.
I think I'll add at least
Treasure
one
face
today.
off.
Face.
Are you also a player?
It's a tie.
I'm still checking in daily. I gotta get. I want. The demos. Yeah. Those were the days.
Is this a new viral trend?
So
Please
I
help
want
me.
Green Arrow and her to become better friends so he can move in.
So first I do this, then this.
Oh, I think you're onto something. You're so kind.
Anyone would have helped.
Tell me about action figures, Super. You talking about you do some action figure streams or what?
I had a great time with Wonder Woman.
'Cause I could be into
Couldn't
that.
have done it without you, comrade. Tatiana for Bernie. Short feet? Yeah.
Hey, from off. Half dust, Bambi.
Nice.
Grab and snap elbow.
I have a lot that I want to get rid of.
Savage Rackle.
Are you in Australia? Because shipping outside of here is ridiculous.
Yeah, but there's no telling if it's true or not.
Well, Clayface said it's all made up.
Cool. Ah, cool. Good,
I thought
good.
I saw a shooting star last night. I was so excited, but then I realized it was just a UFO.
That's too bad. And the aliens didn't even take you on a joyride.
How disappointing. Shooting stars are so cool.
Do you have a main thing you collect? I'm very
What if
into
someone told me they wanted to
the
change their
old
entire body?
superpowers.
Asking for a friend?
I'm looking at the
your
whole
friend could
Justice
try walking around with an
League
anti-life equation sticking out of their pocket.
I saw some painter coveralls the other day that I think your friend could totally rock.
When I first
I've been
started
so
playing
into
this
some
game,
iTunes lately,
it
I lose
felt
sleep.
very
Seriously?
cool.
Nothing can be that good?
One Piece and anime, cool.
I heard stores are all sold out.
When I first
That's a
started
good
playing this
thing,
game,
too.
it
If
felt
I miss any more
like
sleep,
I
I'm going to
was
be a full-on zombie.
back being a kid playing with action figures. It's like putting these two together, see what happens. I know I'm not saying that's what you do, but
I can stop opening trading card booster packs after just one.
No way. That's so sick.
But how did you know the next one doesn't have a rare card?
A dog once got into my schoolyard while class was in session.
No way that happened.
The dog just wanted to learn.
I once called
like
my
the punk
teacher
rock.
by her first name.
Ha! Must have freaked
I've
her
been
out
playing
big
this
time.
every day
I bet she didn't
for
sleep
months
for
now,
weeks.
since April it came out. I've been getting new dialogue recently. I was going in order and now I'm all mixed up. Alright, who else is a pro? I still got a... Ice looks like she's in love with something. Someone.
Nice to see you.
Summer
can't
Island's
explain it,
most...
but Blue Beetle is on my mind all the time lately.
No.
I'm just making it up, huh?
Summer Island's like 3/4 DC characters.
Thanks to Guy
And then a bit of mine. Cool, all good. Thanks for dropping by. I try to stream as often as I can, but it's not often, to be honest. Yeah.
Yum.
Have a good day. Thank you for following. I'm gonna follow you right back while I'm here. $13 minutes ago. You weren't kidding. Hello, it is. Welcome to the show. We're just checking in, and I think I've got top hats finally. So I might make a Zatanna, I might make a penguin,
A ticket inspector. Oh. Sorry. I want to express my
These two still aren't a couple.
What should I
Yes, you make me happy.
You make me happy. Let's do this.
Ice and Guy Gardner are still not a couple.
Barda, I have something
Harley
I want to
Quinn
say
and
to you.
Poison Ivy are divorced.
What's going on? This is out of the blue. You make me happy. I really appreciate that. Thank you. My heart is so full, it may just burst.
Nightwing and Batgirl got divorced. Nightwing's still really depressed about it. I like their house. Look at that. What's Gnord up to?
It's me, Gnort.
It's been weird.
I want to eat something cold.
With the Green Lantern show, people who aren't me are talking about Green Lantern all of a sudden. I should probably... Let's get it on record. I didn't mind the show. It's hard to judge a thing one episode in, right?
Chow time.
I liked it. It doesn't have what I love about Green Lantern, but it's a good show. If I were doing it, it would be silly as heck.
Chow time.
They should put Gnot in that show, and they should cast me as Gnot. It's not a, hey, you have to see it. I would wait till the season's over.
Thanks.
It's one of those things where it's me, like,
more, I can
I'm
go
gonna
ahead and
watch a
charge
Green
ticket
Lantern
for I've been
anything,
dreaming of.
but,
Whoops.
I can't tell other people to do
Thanks
it.
for everything you do. This is a little gift from me. Whoops. What am I looking at? Maybe I should get my eyes checked.
So I still have two Green Lanterns that aren't living in the Green Lantern house. There's Jo Mullen. She's checking out a robot she made. Let's just put her with the Guardian who does live in that house. Oh, now you're being silly about it. And also Kyle Rayner. He's bored. Let's put him... Oh, no, Guy Gardner doesn't live in that house, actually. Hal Jordan.
Hal.
Oh, they're all hanging out.
Good afternoon.
What's crackin', Kyle?
Alright. So I hope that makes them friendlier. I don't know. I think Arkham Asylum is full. What's Clayface doing? He's got a crush on Harley Quinn.
Wait for me.
Which is fine. Arkham Asylum is full except for Scarecrow.
I'm gonna eat you.
There's room for him.
Oh, I'm so scared. Oh, I want to be sweethearts.
I love his room. Yeah, he's Scarecrow. What's he doing?
Lois, hi.
No,
Hey,
it's,
Scarecrow.
let's become a little dance. Alright. I'm gonna pick you up. You're gonna talk again. I'm gonna put you with Joker. Kinda getting along. Right. So I want you to move in with them.
Haha, hello, ha ha ha.
Alright. I don't actually know if that's how it works. Gorilla Grodd. He wants me to play a terrible game. That's alright. That's alright.
I've got nothing to do right now. Do you want to play moving cups with me?
Alright. Gotta focus here.
I promise there are no tricks or secrets to this.
I don't think I've ever failed this.
Keep your eyes on the cup with the coin.
Right. Alright. This is an
Here we
easy
go.
one.
Where's the coin hiding?
Easy. 2 more rounds. I screwed up. I screwed up.
I think it's the left cup. Which will you choose?
I think it's
mister?
middle. I was not paying attention. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Alright. Now I'm paying attention. He's gonna do it again. He's gonna do it again. Alright.
What did you think?
I think it's...
Pretty cool, huh?
Yep.
Thanks. I practiced a lot. Where's the coin hiding?
Oh! Embarrassing. I haven't been playing the games much. I just want him. I just want to talk to him. Pick him up. Pick him up. Oh, there's a conversation. Alright, I can do that later.
Excuse me?
I'll be right with you.
I haven't seen this in a long time. I was just trying to put him down to talk to the other guys.
Can I just...
This way to your table.
We've all been there.
Sorry to keep you waiting. Is everything all right?
On second thought, I'll eat at home.
They're acting like they eat if I don't feed them. Alright, here we go.
Does, anyone want to talk about cars?
No.
That's all you ever talk about?
It's okay, it's
We're
Spectre
about to stop
Spectre,
inviting you places because all you ever
Mr.
talk about is
President.
cars.
Dennis 40 Puppets, and Madame Bugmush. Yeah.
Apparently this place has a secret menu.
Really? I've been coming here forever and had no idea.
I thought that was just a rumor.
I guess it's not so secret anymore.
So I heard that fire. Never mind. Forget I said
I
anything.
did get a
But you
thing I
didn't
want to
say
give
anything.
Madame Bugmush. I don't know if it came in green though. It's a little
Spill the tea.
fluffy thing.
I can't get Anastasia away off my mind.
You don't say.
That's weird.
Hey, he's
What's
talking
up?
about his crush.
I knew it all along.
I don't know if they talk about their crushes to each other. Alright, no.
Oh, hey. Glad
Let's
I
feed
ran
her
into you.
first, actually. Let's feed her first. I'm not a fan of she keeps untucking her top.
Yum.
Now I have to give her this. Giving them clothes, I don't like this kind of menu. It's a bit gross. So what is it? What is it called? What does it look like? And is there a green one? I think it's easy to go to the shop. Yeah, this thing. Faux fur muffler. There's not a green one. Okay. Okay. Let's dress you up anyway. Tuck that in. Get rid of those socks and shoes. Perfect.
You know, a lot of people tell me that my eyes remind them of Dr. 100.
Dr. 100's another OC one I don't plan on putting in. I like giving them the names of characters that aren't in the actual game. Alright, Nightwing's still bummed out. Who are you even friends with? I just tried getting one to talk to him.
I'm shouting out my memories of Barbara.
I tried getting Batman to talk to him.
Lose my number, Barbara.
My dearest.
He hates her.
Barbara.
Come on. Yeah, he's been depressed.
Don't you think you're kind of the me equivalent of a dog?
The me equivalent of a dog?
The clothes I bought yesterday were on sale for half price today.
He took it really hard. Batgirl, I cheered up almost
I heard
instantly.
being real close to screens is good for your eyes, so I always try to sit right up front in movie theaters.
That's 3 attempts. He's so sad.
Huh? Sorry,
I can't even.
I just want some time alone right now.
I can't even feed him. What's Jon Stewart doing?
Hey, Flash. Do you feel like talking about sleeping?
Sure. But tell me, Jon Stewart, how much do
It's
you know
weird
about
when you don't
sleeping?
get to choose what they say.
Oh, like so much. I study the sleeping rule book every night before bed.
It's a good time to do it.
Well, that's some serious dedication. But you know, I've always wanted to give pro sleeping a shot. Maybe one day we can do it together.
Sure. Try sleeping together. I think he would know his real identity. Barry.
Barry, how the
Betty calls him Flash too.
have you seen Flash in?
And John.
John, want to...
Bet Jon Stewart.
Have you seen Jon Stewart?
Yeah.
Nice. I knew sleeping would bring Barry and me together.
Makes sense.
Should I make
John and I have the
Zatanna
same taste in
first
hobbies,
or
so no wonder we hit
Penguin?
it off.
More ladies would be nice. The outfit's gonna be a bit tricky. I've run out of things to do. I might just give people $100. Zatanna? Alright.
Thanks. If I save up $3,800
Wait,
more, I can go on that Antarctica tour
Not
I've
that I
been
have to
dreaming
try.
of.
They're not living where I want them to be living.
Thanks for everything you do. This
It's
is
kind
a
of
little
most
gift
of the
from
game
me.
for me now is trying to get them where I want them. It's mostly working out. Oh, what's Blue Beetle doing? Oh,
My donut.
what the heck's going on
Well,
here?
is this really the first time we've met? I'm Blue Beetle.
Blue Beetle, was
I
it?
think there was a dance-off
okay.
and a concert,
I'm Professor Zoom.
and these guys are talking.
Oh, laugh.
And Alex is chasing Galaxia over there.
Okay, check the horoscope brand.
Yeah, let's get to making. Just leave Nightwing. Let's leave Nightwing depressed for now. What's going on here? There's too many things going on. Add me. So she should be easy. There's no face paint, no nothing like that. It's kind of... Let's make her a bit pale. She's going to be wearing a lot of dark clothes. This? No. This. Dark hair. It's one of those ones I don't think I need a reference because everyone's drawing her different all the time. There's definitely wrong ways to go, but this is nice flowy hair, not tied up. And she will be wearing a top hat. That's cute, but not for her. What's the longest hair? I don't like those bangs. Let's go. Let's go. It's gotta be neat. She's on stage. It's kinda nice. Something like that. Like that. Off to one side. See, I can't picture her fringe because she's always wearing a hat. I think something like this. I do want to see her face though. I mean, yeah, let's put her in a hat and then redo this. No, definitely not that. Definitely not that. That's just... I think that. And a bit wavier. That's pretty wavy though. Is there a wavier? That, but more sideways. This, that. That. I don't think there's a wrong way to do it. Let's go back to the bangs. I need to see the face. That's... no. No, that's pretty severe. Had it good before. I mean, that's kind of... Alright, let's go with that. Gonna go straight to the eyes. I think of her as always smiling. Having a bit of a squinty smile. Without the smile, that just looks weird. Let's go in lipstick. Although you can't put lipstick on all of them. Where's... I feel like... yeah. Maybe higher. Maybe not red. blacky. Maybe red. I remember she's on stage. She's putting on a show. She's not goth. That's kind of cool. That's good. Back to the eyes. If anyone's gonna have makeup on, it's her. Although the makeup is separate. No. No. That's kind of... whoops. No. No, but maybe. No. Oh, I've made a mess now. Kinda good, the angles aren't good, but yeah. This is what I meant where I want to see the eyes and the hair's not doing me good. Yeah. Before I mess with the eyes more, let's do that. It's a bit Michael Jackson-y, I'm afraid to say. Better. Am I... That's making it worse. No, that's yeah. The eyebrows being that high. It's the hair, isn't it? It's the Michael Jackson hair. I think that's good. I think that's good here. Eyes, let's put as much makeup on as I can. Because none of the other characters really have, she doesn't have the bottom bit of the eye to put that, hang on. That's what this is all about. I don't think it's very her. But it could be. So the current Zatanna comic, she has a lot of different looks. So I feel like I can't do wrong. Oh, maybe I can. No, I don't like the butter. I don't like that. That's very cute. Shiny, yeah. How big can I do that? Yeah, that's cute. She's got ears. It's gonna be fun for like catchphrases and stuff. Put some backwards words in there. I think cheekbones. I wish I could rotate the cheekbones. mustaches. Maybe a bit of this. See, I'm not good at makeup. Yeah. Should that be colored? White's interesting. I don't really associate a lot of colors with her. It's kind of nice. I wish I could do an opacity, you know, make it a bit lighter. I guess that's what this is all about. Yeah, yeah. She just looks like a cool lady. No face paint. How does this look without lipstick? Oh, no. Yeah. Yeah. A big smile. I don't like having the default nose, but I think that's only because it's the default. But I think it's a good nose. I'm happy with that. Let's go. Yes, it's tricky. She does have a tiny fringe now that I think about it. She's got a tiny bangs straight across. Like that. I've seen her like that. But not like that. It all depends on how the hat is going to sit on her head as well. That's interesting. I think I've seen her like that as well. Yeah, I like that. She's as tall as Lois, taller than Lois. Let's make her a bit thin. Ish. See.
My name is Zatanna.
I've heard it also be called Zatanna. What do we? I think Zatanna. I wish I could hear that again. Now, I know she dated John Constantine. Let's do everything. Yeah. Ah. I haven't had to look at this in ages, but I have a big old spreadsheet for this stuff. Tamagotchi character plans table. Where is she? 20th of the 5th. I don't know where I got that. Might have made it up. And I've put her at 30. Alright, here we go.
My name is Zatanna. It's nice to meet you.
Bit deeper.
My name is Zatanna.
No,
My name is Zatanna.
definitely faster.
My name is
My name is Zatanna. My name is Zatanna. My name is Zatanna. My name is Zatanna. My name is Zatanna.
That sounds like a
It's
grown-up.
nice to meet you. My name is Zatanna.
My name is Zatanna. My name is Zatanna. My name is Zatanna.
My name is Zatanna. My name is Zatanna. It's nice to meet you. Today is. My name is Zatanna. My name is Zatanna.
Yeah,
It's nice to meet you. My name is Zatanna. It's.
I'm not
My
sure
name
what
is.
this is.
My name is Zatanna. It's nice to meet you. My name is Zatanna. It's nice to meet. My name is Zatanna. My name is Zatanna. My name is Zatanna. My name is Zatanna. It's nice to meet you. My name is Zatanna.
No,
My name is Zatanna.
no.
My name is Zatanna. It's nice to meet you. Today is August 20th, 2026.
It's a bit of a squeak.
My name is Zatanna. It's nice to meet you. My name is Zatanna. It's nice to meet you.
That's how she is.
Today
She's
is August 20th, 20.
straightforward. Not related to anyone. Quick. She's polite. Let's go one up from there. Energy. She's not flat. She is not very serious, but not all the way chill. She's pretty quirky. That's all good. Sociable, optimistic, compassionate, follows their instincts. Radiant and always on form, yep. Effortless style, admired by all, yep. Oh. I should have made space first. This is random JLA people. These are both pink. Yeah, I don't really care who she interacts with, but also Gotham's pretty blank. No, I don't want her in Gotham. Here is close to other celebrities. Superheroes, I mean. I think that's good. I think there's gonna have to be another Justice League related
there.
group.
It's nice to meet you, Mr. I'm Zatanna. I'm an outgoing charmer.
What's her
I have a
room
knack for
gonna
bonding
look
with
like?
others, and I'm always ready for a good time with friends. I can't wait to start living here.
I like to welcome everyone with a little rub on the head. And a little what you thinking about?
I get frustrated when I can't express myself the way I want.
Sounds about right. Feed you. I got a lot of kids' meals.
Yum.
And once her tummy's full, give her a top hat. Or maybe I'll save the top hat to last. Do I have an outfit that is close to hers? Or do I have to draw it?
Yum.
There are fishnets. Alright. Let me think about this. Create and give outfit. I think I can't do fishnets and her outfit. Again, she does a lot of outfits. Doesn't have to be. See, there's that. But then I have to give her shorts. Or does a dress? I don't think there's a dress that's... Tiny shots. So what happens if I put that up? Yeah, alright. That's not what I'm going with. I just want to see how they combine. This is a shorter one? It's gotta be underpants. but jeans aren't gonna do it. Tiny skirt. I might have to. No. Not shorts. Not shorts. It's gotta be a show-offy. I'm on stage. These frilled skirts, if there was a dark one. That? Maybe? That? I think I will end up drawing her outfit, but not today. Oh! Yeah. Is there a top that goes with that? I've been putting everyone in warm clothes because it's winter here and it's pretty chilly. But... But... Not for her. Oh, if this was in black. Nah, actually, I think short sleeves is gonna have to do it. Something fancy, something show-offy. I don't think it exists. Oh, that's pretty cool if that was black. I wish there was a separate cape for everyone. No. Close though. Close. If this had short sleeves... Oh, there is a black one. No. I could have sworn there was a sequence top. I think going to the shop is easier than this. No, but you can't create a whole outfit. Good night. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Yeah, have a good night's sleep. Oh, this in black would be good. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm forgetting the friggin' top. That's my Zatanna. I will... Oh, there are sequence shoes. I do think I'll draw her actual thing. That means drawing fishnets, which kind of sucks. Come on. And I will... What kind of room does Zatanna have? Oh, there's the one that Mr. Miracle has. It's being on stage. Maybe I sold out. Maybe I used them all.
Welcome.
This one. Yeah, I don't know.
Thank you very much. Please come again.
This one? Oh, should she have furniture, but let's say furniture and put that. Yeah, it always looks Twin Peaksy if you put those curtains in a normal room. her a pet bunny.
This is exactly the kind of room I wanted to live in. Thank you.
Give her a pet bunny. And we're done. Who do I introduce her to? She hates the bunny. Let's go to the island builder and just make a little path. Oh, does that bother me that they don't line up? I don't think it bothers me. Bothers me enough to move it. Yeah. We can decorate further. Who do I introduce Zatanna to? I think I'm just gonna leave it. These two have never met ever, have they?
Woo.
In the comics.
Nice to
or
meet
anything?
you. My name's Catwoman.
Hello, Catwoman. I'm Guardian.
Pine cone watch, hold down the bed.
A pine cone sort of
Pine cone
person.
watch, hold down the bed. Devil.
There's more going on. That's so far. How are you gonna get there?
I want
How are you gonna get there? I drew Black Canary's outfit. That's
My name
pretty
is
close to
Rod.
Zatanna's.
And you are
Great to meet ya.
Very
but
close to Zatanna's.
I'm
outfit.
Supergirl.
Rainbow, Supergirl, and Tap Punisher.
I'm gonna look this up. The tails of the. She's got like a tail coat. That's gonna be hard.
Ah,
I think I'll ignore that actually.
ahoy. I want to try living with fire.
No.
You think? Well, I guess I'll give it up for now. Sometimes I don't even notice that I'm
She
dancing
has
in
that
place.
outfit because there is a childhood photo of my wife Alexandra dressed as maybe
Yum,
Ace
yum,
of,
yum.
maybe Ace of Hearts, and she's so much tinier than everyone else. No. So many of these things don't fill up the
Yum, yum, yum.
tummy enough for me. That's better. Still haven't found one true love. Food-wise. Alright, let's dress her up. I'll just give her that. No, let's give her that.
Thanks for everything you do. This is a little gift from me.
Sleeping, games, what are you didn't have to click that. Pretty cool, eh?
Three cheers for our animal friends.
Oh, it's a little park I made with all those. And then I think that's the first time I've seen anyone actually use it. What's Joe Mullen got going on?
Huh. Good afternoon, boss. I think Dennis 40 Puppets and Hal Jordan would be fast friends.
I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, you're right. They each probably have enough friends.
No real reason.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm in love with Jon Stewart.
Okay. You can have a lobster roll.
Yum.
I think I might call it quits soon. I do want to see, I do want to put Zatanna in her outfit. I didn't mean to click on Harley Quinn.
So when it works the Legal checks to
What are these bad boys up to? My favourite lantern. Gnort.
It's nice to meet
He's
everyone.
silly.
I'm
He's the
Sinestro,
dog.
and I've been a fan of Anna Garcia ever since I was a tiny little baby. I'm so glad to finally
Who's your favourite
My name is
lantern?
Professor Zoom, and I've been thinking of little other than...
Growing up, Hal Jordan, there wasn't a lot of choice back then. I was Jon Stewart. They just made so depressing when I was like late 80s, early 90s. And I couldn't get into them. Now I think it's pretty cool.
Ah, Mogo. Oh,
I like
sorry.
I like Arcus
My mind was
Chummock.
elsewhere.
He's the guy who became Green Lantern by
I'm hungry.
eating the previous Green Lantern of his planet. It just makes for a silly story.
Yum.
Who's your favorite Green Lantern? Oh no, I hope that's on your end and not mine. Guy Gardner, that Justice League runs one of my favorite comics. And as a kid, I could not stand him. And then rereading it, I'm like, oh no, he's the best.
Thanks so much.
Like,
Just $1,300 more.
reading it as a
and
kid
I can
is
go
like,
on that Antarctica tour
why
like
would
I've
you
always
have-
dreamed.
why would you have
Guess
a
I should
jerk
start
on this
packing
team?
for
And
it.
then that's the whole point. That's the whole
Thanks for
point
everything
of
you
having
do.
him there is that he's
This
a
is
jerk.
a little gift
He's
from me.
funny. Not like the others.
I'll admit, I watch Animal Man's live streams all
Yeah,
the
he
time.
rules. I've been rereading.
Yum.
I've been rereading Green Lantern, and then I'm up to the 90s when I was reading. There's a bit where Hal Jordan dies, and Guy Gardner's really cool about that. He's in the worst. He's got the worst look and powers at that point, but he's very good about being like, yeah, he was actually good. Like, he's not antagonistic about Hal Jordan once he's dead.
Green Arrow. Yo.
It's just a weird kind
Firestorm.
of...
Lima through on a theme fam. Yeah.
I think a monthly Guy Gardner as a jerk comic is a bit much, but as a supporting character, he's good.
Yeah, but Flamagem over Kraven by all of that logo clap.
Alright, I hope
Prep me
that
up, Firestorm.
works. I'm very interested in seeing Guy Gardner show up in the show.
I love being a superhero.
The Lantern show. It's one of the raised a lot of questions,
The
which
nuclear
is
man.
good for a first episode.
Green
But yeah,
Arrow.
seeing him in that world's
It's
gonna be
me,
fun.
Poison Ivy.
Hey, Poison Ivy?
Handle Green Arrow talk like reconstructed robots. and cats. Fear.
Yeah.
Sparkle, reconstructed robot Ramsey, reconstructed
He's good at
robot
his
Tom.
job. I think almost the opposite. I don't know if I'd want to work with him, but I can't say he's bad at it.
Do you have a moment? I would just
It's funny rereading the old comics with him. He's like, I don't know. My memory of him is always he loved to fight, and he's good at fighting. But then it's like he kind of just
Hey,
wants to be
good
left
afternoon.
alone. Actually,
As the other half of New Genesis,
I've already done this today.
I think it's always a good time to have an attitude of gratitude. But if you say so,
Ah, John Constantine. I just added.
Big Barda has the best laugh. We were
I just added Zatanna.
yum.
I've got 60, and yeah, I don't know who my last 10 are gonna be. I'm not in a rush to fill my island, but what's John Stewart one?
Oh. Hey, fellow hero. You know, your eyes look just like Animal Man's.
Cool. I haven't read a lot of
I think
Constantine.
Flash and Clayface would be best friends.
No.
Yeah, you're right. They each probably have enough friends. When I talked to Flash about sleeping,
How do
we
you
both
feel
got
about
super into it.
Constantine being mixed
Now we're
in
friends.
with the regular DCU? Because growing up, he was Vertigo and kind of kept separate, and then now he shows up. I think you need
Mealtime.
someone like that in the universe, but. JLA Dark, Justice League Dark is pretty fun. What I've read of
Mealtime.
that. I have been thinking about putting Swamp Thing in here. I think you need like it'd be fun to just have this messed up monster walking around.
Mealtime.
I feel like I'm an outlier when I say, Keanu as Constantine is just weird. I think any American as Constantine is kind of weird. Yeah, it's. I guess that's why they don't call it Hellblazer. It's like, yeah. I think people love it for Keanu. It's good for Keanu lovers, but not for Hellblazer lovers. Now I'm gonna. No, that's terrible. I'm gonna. Oh, I think it's a long sleeve top. Yeah. So I'm gonna copy Black Canary's outfit and change it to Zatanna's. What order are these in? Alright. Yeah, I think it's very close. What's with that black line there? Oh. So I always screw up. How do I click? I'm clicking on the wrong thing. Not gift. Block. And is report different? Report. Alright, forget about the report. Yeah. Thanks for, yeah, I agree about get wrecked, clanker. I might need reference. No. Let's give this a go. I think she has a white shirt under this with a bow tie, possibly. Yeah, let's look up reference here. Zatanna. A white bow tie. Oh yeah, look, she's had so many outfits. A white. Alright, let's go this Brian Boland. Can I just drag this into my OBS? Yes. Whoa. I didn't want the Amazon link. What are you talking about? Alright. That's what I'm going for. Let's put that behind. It's really made an Amazon link. I think a person could click on this. I don't want that. I know saying that on Twitch is a bit silly, but Amazon sucks. So I'm working on the top here. It's been a long time since I've used all this stuff. Alright. She doesn't have this color. Let's make that a bit higher. Pencil. Don't want to go full black. Matte Rat, yeah, that's kind of cool. That I know they're doing that these days with these days they're making sure the live action and the animated voices are all the same people. I didn't realize they were already kind of doing that. That's a weird vest. Oh, the jacket's longer. Alright. I'll be honest, I'm gonna quit. Let's look at, I know there are templates for jackets and things. No? No. What I have to do is quit, stop, don't save, and then you say new creation, and then you got the templates. Yeah, none of those really work. That's not bad. Nah, that's enough. I'll do that at some point. Wait a minute.
Welcome.
What time is it?
We're running
I
a
just
special
didn't check.
sale
I
today.
didn't check the market.
Get us. Thanks a lot. Beach.
I think I've done all I can. I'm gonna try and cheer up Nightwing. Don't know how to do that. Zatanna hasn't met anyone. Let's deal with that. Get bored, anyone's company. Batman, I guess. Black Canary? Yeah, let's go with Batman first.
Hey, nice to meet you.
That's a good enough outfit.
I'm Zatanna.
Zatanna. Hiya. My name's Batman.
So I've got space for 9 more
Ring a ding bangers. Yeah, it's a trio ring a ding
me's.
bangers.
I
Longest
don't
pedal.
know
No.
who that's gonna be.
With Zatanna and the Food Chappa. Ring a ding bangers right along.
Ring a ding bangers. Yeah, it's a trio ring a ding bangers. Longest pedal. No.
Cool.
Thanks so much. I feel like I got really close to Batman, thanks to you.
Grappling snap.
Alright,
Yeah,
I
grappling
might
snap elbow.
call it a
Or the pillow.
day.
Oh.
Let's try. Everyone's spoken to.
Shorty. Yeah, yeah. Oh.
Everyone's spoken to Nightwing. Is he
Huh.
even gonna let me feed him?
Sigh. This isn't good.
To fed him? His favorite. Let's give him a green curry. What's it look like? A black bowl? He just got divorced from Batgirl.
Sigh.
Now that better work. Hey!
I'm feeling better now. I could talk about numbers all day long.
Alright, I think that's me done. Next week, I'm interested in playing this new Star Wars game. So I'll stream that. I think I'll probably spend hours making my character. If you're watching this on YouTube, check me out on Twitch. So I have Instagram, Blue Sky, live.itch.io for games and comics and things. And if you're watching this live, check out Nonstop. I've been putting them all up. I've been getting maybe a dozen views on each one, which is great. Yeah, thanks for watching. Love you. Bye.